Black people who were ripped from their homes and detained
for hours
with no warrants for hours, traumatized. Detain what?
First of all, detain is not the same as arrest. Second
How
of all,
would you like to be detained? Sitting outside of your home?
Wait. Why don't we go over what standard procedures are? When immigration officials and federal authorities are entering a hostile situation where there are known criminals and known members of a terrorist organization, they have to go in and detain. Yes. And when you're going in there to,
I just want to be clear that what you're talking about, because we talked about this at the beginning, children zip tied, okay?
By the way, DHS disputes that. They dispute it.
We can't believe everything.
Hold on a second.
I called them. We talked about this afternoon. I called them. I said point blank. What about this? They said that did not happen. They did say this.
Of course they're going to say that.
Hold on. What did they say did not happen?
They said this did not happen. But oftentimes and every time when they go into a situation with violent people, the first thing they do is remove children from a dangerous situation, and they're not in the care of DHS. They immediately go into the care of DHS.
So let me just make one note, because we received a statement from them where they talked about how they were separating children who might have been associated with some of the people who were arrested for gang affiliations. But we also don't know if those are the same children that these witnesses were talking about. I mean, the witnesses said that they saw children crying. They looked distraught. They were out there crying. I saw a little girl come around the corner because they were bringing the kids down too and had them zip tied to each other. So
they dispute it. They dispute it. I'm just telling you.
I understand that they dispute that. But I'm just saying this person was there, and this is what they say. So people can make of that.
And just the horrors of what happened to the children is one thing. You also had American citizens, black American citizens, that were drugged out of their homes and detained and put through something that they should not have had to go through. And when we are having a conversation about how customary it is to detain someone, I want people to remember the historic implications of that for black people.
Okay, hold on. Wait, what would be? Wait, let me ask you honestly. What would be the alternative to go in there and say, okay, guys, raise your hand if you are an American citizen, and we're going to let you out of here. Do you trust people to be honest? Is that the alternative? Is that the alternative?
No, the alternative is for law enforcement to do their job.
Yes, that's what they're doing.
They are detaining the right people.
And how do they detain? How do they determine that? They have to see the papers.
The alternative is for law enforcement
to act like
a scalpel and not like a hatchet.
Brianna, 1 second. When you walk down the street, and so let's say hypothetically, a law enforcement person came up to you and said, "Are you a U.S. citizen?" What are you going to say?
Well, that's not the question.
No. Let me ask you. If they said that to you, what would you say?
I would say yes.
Okay, and then they said, "I don't believe you. Let me put you in some zip ties."
You know what the difference is? When they're going into a hostile situation.
No, hold on a second.
Abby, you're
hold on a second.
People are 37 illegal aliens
out of hundreds of people.
That's where people live, man.
Listen, I think that I'm just playing out the scenario.
They didn't bust the crack house.
Right, but the scenario I'm describing.
Brianna, you just described the scenario.
Yes, and
in which you say that their only choice is to detain someone, make them not free to go. Take away their freedom for however long, so that they can prove, not to take your word for it, but to prove that they are citizens. And if that happened to you, walking down the streets of New York, you would probably file a lawsuit. Would you not?
Abby, you are completely taking what I said out of context. So I will say it again. When a law enforcement official is going into a situation or an environment in which they know that there are criminal gang members in a confined environment in an apartment complex.
We have to go.
And in an apartment complex,
I don't want us to forget.
How should we differentiate between the two?
You come to DHS, but
I don't want us to
very real situation.
I don't want us
that happens to black and brown Americans
just 1 second.
every single day.
I don't want us to forget.
So you understand.
I don't want us to forget that we're talking about an apartment building in the middle of the night where people, many innocent people were sleeping in their beds,
100%,
going about their lives. They don't have hold on a second. They don't have a choice about who their neighbors are, okay?
Right.
They live where they live. So
how
it's
should
a
ICE
choice.
agents then determine who's who?
They should know who they're going after and target those people.
So they should discriminate. They should racially profile.
So what you guys are essentially saying is that the police should be able to walk up and down the streets of America,
that is not at
pull
all.
people to the side,
in my mouth, it doesn't make it true.
and then say, "Hey, we want to make sure you're not a criminal."
No, when you're going into
I actually called, since we had this conversation, I called DHS. I spoke to a senior counselor to the secretary. I spoke to the assistant secretary. I said, how did you come to this apartment building? She said, well, the person who owns the apartment building called us and said, I'm pretty sure Tren de Aragua has set up shop in here. Could you please come? And it turns out they had been in there squatting, not paying any rent. The owner of the apartment building asked the law enforcement to come in because they knew there was transnational terrorist organization operating
there. I've never heard anything that mattered less.
I don't
than having transnational terrorists on American soil.
How does it matter for taking children out in the middle of the night and detaining black people who are U.S.
separating children from dangerous transnational gangs?
Hold on, Scott.
Terrorizing black and brown children.
Listen,
is
Scott.
an issue.
People's constitutional rights are their constitutional rights. In this country, you have a right to not be searched without a warrant. In this country, you have a right to your liberty unless you are actually accused of doing something wrong. So when you are sleeping in your bed and you happen to live somewhere, you have a right to not be detained just for physically being in a, not even being in the same apartment, but being in the building
I think you're
or something else. It's not overblowing.
They're not arrested.
It's just
They
a
are
fact
not
of what
arrested.
happened.
They are not arrested.
It's
37 illegal aliens are arrested.
I know
no
for
Americans
a fact
are
that
arrested.
neither of you would want to be detained for any amount of time for not doing anything wrong.
If I were living under a Tren de Aragua,
it's totally fine for
I think I would want them gone.
I think you would not want that to happen to you, and you would certainly not want it to happen to your children. If your child was detained for any amount of time, you would not want that to happen.
Also,
Scott.
they check to see if these children are part of human trafficking. That's the other issue that's going on.
It's a question of empathy. It's a question of empathy. Would you want it to happen to you?
Do you have any empathy for the victims of Tren de Aragua? I do.
Of
Maybe
course
you
I
don't.
do.
I mean, I agree. It's a question of empathy.
Of course
we seem to have empathy for the.
But you don't want to doubly victimize people
these people
for
are not victims.
just living their lives.
I have empathy for the black people in that community that I saw on video talk about how frightened they were, how scared they were, and the trauma that was inflicted on them with something that they have nothing to do with. And here's the reality. It's going to happen all over American cities unless people have the courage to say that this is not the way that we run our society.
The courage to say, let the Tren de Aragua stay here, please.
That's not what anybody said.
That's exactly what the logic follows.
We're going to have to leave it there. We have more breaking news tonight about a potential monumental moment in international